Happy Wednesday, beloved friends. What is up? Happy spring. Are you in spring mode yet? Or are you ready for summer? What is your favorite season? I know for me, my favorite seasons are fall and winter, but I'm learning how to like spring and summer. Today's video is gonna be all about Paris. I'm gonna take you through some of the things that we did and just pop in maybe a couple little videos and pictures for your sake, for if you are planning a trip to Paris. I really wanna give you our insight and our 2 cents about it. First and foremost, we definitely budgeted for this big time. We started planning for our trip 2 years in advance, and that was having the groundwork for, I had the idea that I really wanted to go to Paris for our anniversary, and Doug said, that's a great idea. Let's get cracking on saving some money in a little envelope each month. And I, at that time I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna take forever, 2 years, blah, blah, blah. But to be honest with you, it was one of the best things that we did, because we had this almost like a 2-year, that feeling when it's almost Christmas, like the anticipation for Christmas is so exciting. So we had that for our trip, and we were so excited because we knew that we weren't going into debt to go to Paris, because we were diligently every month setting money aside for it. So when we did get to go, we had so much fun. We had money to spend on shopping, money to spend on food, and all of the things that we were able to do were because we were diligent in saving the money for 2 years. So that's my first tip, is to get honest with yourself about what it would cost for you to get there. Jot that down, and then maybe break it down into monthly, like a monthly budget to set aside for yourself. And yeah, start there. I think that's a great way to start, because you get to be committed to going to a place but not getting into debt for it. That's my jive, and that's what my husband and I always talk about, is how important it is for us to manage our money well. So don't mind my knee. I'm getting super comfy right now. So that was my tip number 1, is to save money and to make a realistic goal as to how much money you would need to save each month to go on a trip like that. We bought our tickets well in advance because we didn't want to just do it spur of the moment. Airline tickets go up when the time gets closer. So my suggestion would be to ask around your friends if they have flown international and see if they had a really pleasant experience with their flights. And also know that no airline is going to be perfect. There are times when delays happen and things like that happen. So my tip number 2 is to not have a huge expectation of your trip, because when you do that, you sort of I don't know, I feel like it kills the mood when things don't go your way, and then you can get very frustrated. So both Doug and I, we had this intention when we got to Paris. I said, you know what, my intention is to, whenever I have a thought about, hey, what's the worst case scenario here? Because I felt a lot of fear going to another country, leaving my kids for 9-10 days. That was the first time I've left our children for that long. So all these thoughts were really bothering my mind, and I thought, I'm not gonna enjoy my trip if I'm just worried. That's just dumb. So I said to myself, every time you have a thought of worst case scenario, let's transpose it to what's the best case scenario in this situation. What are we gonna learn? What are we gonna overcome? The challenges that do come our way, how are we gonna fix our attitude in a positive manner? That made a huge and tremendous difference. Third was learning a little bit of the language was super helpful. We had an amazing time. French people are amazing. I think if you just give it a shot and you give it a try, people really appreciate that. They appreciate a smile. And when you go as an American to France, there's lots of tourists in Paris, right? And I just saw people they would go to the Louvre or something, and then they would see somebody and they would be like, where's the bathroom? Not even acknowledging that they're a human being, and just asking, where's the bathroom? So Doug and I made it a point to, when we saw someone and we wanted some information from them, we were like, bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. And then we asked, comment ça va? That's, how are you? And because we did that, I feel like people felt like human beings, and they were much more inclined to help us. And then we asked, because I would say ¿Cómo se va? ¿Ça va bien? And I knew a little bit of French, so then they would speak to me in French like all the way, and I'd be like, whoa, okay, now I really don't understand what you're saying. So we had to say like, parlez-vous anglais? And then that, you know, that got them to talk in English to us if they did speak English. But that's my next tip for you, is to, if you're going overseas to Paris, just prepare yourself for the language. There are a couple of apps. I know my husband loves Duolingo. I played that one too, and that one was really fun. But you can watch YouTube videos. You can really, nowadays, there are so many different ways to get sort of your feet wet into a language, and you don't have to know all the words, just some. So that is another huge tip, is to treat people like human beings, say hello in their language, mind who they are, and I think you would have a tremendously different experience in your trip. Next up was the logistics of how to prepare for a big trip like that, as far as like what to see, what to do. Not everybody's gonna wanna see and do the same things in Paris. I know for Doug and I, we really wanted to hit some of the major spots. Like we really wanted to go to the Tour Eiffel. We wanted to go to Versailles. We wanted to go to Champs-Élysées and do all the shopping. So we sort of had like a little vision night where we talked about what we would like to do. I told Doug it was really important for me to go watch a show of some sort. We ended up watching a ballet, the ballet in the large opera house there, and that was an amazing experience. My husband, he loves sports and soccer, so he really wanted to go to a PSG soccer match, which was incredible. It was an incredible experience, even for me. I'm not like that big of a soccer fan, but just being there and all the energy. So I would just suggest, if you're going on your own or you're going with somebody, just get together and talk about like what are the things that you would like to do. And then look up the websites for these places. Sometimes some museums are closed on certain days. So if you want to go to, if you're a museum person, I would say look at all the museums and figure out which days, which ones are closed, and based on that, build your itinerary on that note. Because if you just go and you don't prepare for, perhaps, like for example, the museums, you can buy a pass and you can go to all of the museums with that one pass, and that pass allows you to not go on the general admission line. So there are perks to being proactive. That's what I would say. There are huge perks of being proactive and just taking a little bit of time to research what things you want to do, what the prices are. I know sometimes, like for example, my brain doesn't automatically think that way. That's more my husband's brain, but I'm so grateful that he was able to do that, because we had an amazing trip because he was very diligent about looking up the details. So if you're like me and you're not a detailed person, I would just suggest to maybe make yourself be a little more disciplined to do that, so that you could just, I don't know, I think it's just being prepared. It really does help you to get the bang out of your buck for paying all that money to go on a big trip like this, especially to Paris. There's so many things you can do and see. One day I said, I don't want to have any plans. I want to be like a Parisian. I just want to have a Parisian day. We spent the whole day walking around trying to find a laundry service. We ended up having to do our own laundry, but that was okay. We felt very Parisian and very like that was our life in Paris, doing laundry. And then we just walked around and we saw these little cute shops. We got some chicken, we got baguettes. Baguettes are amazing. Oh my gosh, the food there is so wonderful. I have video highlights on my Instagram if you want to go there and see some of the little videos that we shot on location. I think that might be helpful for you. I just want to give you the groundwork of what made our trip really good, was planning in advance, saving up the money in advance and budgeting for it, and then doing the sitting down and talking about what we would like to do, and then figuring out what days they were open, how much it would cost, and all of that. Another thing that we did that was super, super helpful was to get a Metro card while we were there. The Metro system there is incredible. It's amazing. It takes a little bit of practice to get it down, but I would suggest, like my husband did before, he just looked up a map. If you're good with maps, this might be useful for you. If not, you're gonna kind of be at the mercy of asking people and just trying to figure out when you're there, which I believe God is gonna be with you. He will guide you and lead you, but the metro system is an incredible way to move around in Paris. So we got a metro card. We got a metro card for an entire week, and it really paid off. We went so many places because of it, and we got the all Paris pass. So it was a little bit of an investment at the very beginning, just as the museum pass was, because you have to pay for it up front, but then it really freed up a lot of money and time for us to not have to be standing in lines or taking an Uber or taxi all the time. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thank you so much for considering subscribing to my channel. I love you guys. Come back next week. I'll have some more goodies for you. Don't forget to check out the blog post with all the links. I love you guys. See you later. Adios. Adios. Adios.